What is America to me? A name, a map, of a flag I see, a certain word, democracy. What is America to me? The house I live in, the friends that I have found, the folks beyond the railroad, and the people all around, the worker and the farmer, the sailor on the sea, the men who built this country, that's America to me. Words of old Abe Lincoln, of Jefferson and Payne, of Washington and Jackson, and the tasks that still remain. The little bridge at Concord, where freedom's fight began, our Gettysburg and Midway, and the story of the tan. The house I live in, my neighbors white and black, the people who just came here, often generations back. The town hall and the soapbox, the torch of liberty, a home for all God's children, that's America to me. The house I live in, the goodness everywhere, a land of wealth and beauty, with enough for all to share. A house that we call freedom, the home of liberty, but especially the people, that's America to me. But especially the people, that's the true America.
I love those chimes. Welcome to all. This is the first of the 2020 summer services at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Easton, in Easton, Maryland. My name is Bożena Lemparska, and I am honored to be able to offer a service on Paul Robeson on this weekend, 4th of July. Paul Robeson has been an idol of mine since I was a teenager. In fact, when I turned 18 and was eligible to register to vote, I registered as a socialist because I wanted to be like Paul Robeson. And I'd never be a bass baritone, so anyway, I'd like to be able to start by lighting the chalice. Chalice in the UU faith, amongst other things, represents deep inclusion. And inclusion and equality for all was what Paul stood for. It is what motivated him to act, to speak out. And it seems only right that it be at the start of this service. So let's take a moment now to do just that, to light the chalice.
this little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night, I'm gonna let it shine. All through the night. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Okay, so who was Paul Robeson? I could sit here and give you biography, but you'd probably turn the sound down or turn the video off completely. But instead, I'll let other people tell you about him. In the next couple of videos, the first one will be Susan Robeson, who was his granddaughter. And she's speaking at the 2019 commemoration of Paul Robeson's 100th anniversary of graduating from Rutgers University. This might be a good time actually to mention that when he was at Rutgers, he was only the third black student to have attended Rutgers at that time, and he was the only black student on campus during the 4 years that he was matriculated at Rutgers. He was also there on a full scholarship. He lettered in football, basketball, baseball, track. He was All-American for 2 years. And he was Phi Beta Kappa in his junior year, and he was valedictorian when he graduated. But that's biography, and I don't know if you really wanted to know that. Anyway, it is his granddaughter who talks about his ethics and his beliefs and what motivated him in his life. Next, there was a quote I found. It was by Coretta Scott King, and she said it during a celebration of Robeson's 75th birthday at Carnegie Hall. He was quite ill and he did not attend, but many, many people did attend. And what she told to the crowd that was there was, let me see that I have this. This was in April of 1973. She said that he had been buried alive for espousing civil rights and human dignity decades before her husband, the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Rather impressive words, especially considering that most people don't know who Paul Robeson is. Also present was Clayton Riley, who's an American cultural historian, and he spoke of Paul Robeson and said, "One of the nation's greatest men, an individual whose time on earth has been spent in the pursuit of justice for all human beings and toward the enlightenment of men and women the world over." Why don't we know about him? And then following that is a video of Harry Belafonte receiving the NAACP award in, I believe,
Paul always asked himself, how am I doing, Pop? The sole measure of success for him was not wealth, was not fame or material things. It was his ability to live up to his father's credo. A credo is a set of beliefs that guides you. What were these? 1, strive for excellence in everything you do. Aim for perfection rather than competing and being better than somebody else. 2, success is not a virtue in and of itself. Success without benefiting those who are less fortunate than you is meaningless. 3, knowledge is a quest, like a hunger that never ends. 4, have the courage of your convictions. Be willing to sacrifice and pay the price to do the right thing. Don't go along just to get over. 5, when faced with adversity and hardship, step into it and not away from it. That is I can hear my grandfather in my head. He always said that, step into it and not away from it. So the point I make is have a set of personal values and measure yourself according to those values. That's being true to yourself. And if anything defines my grandfather, it's that. Be true to yourself.
Where are our leaders, our legislators? Where is the church? Not all, but many have been the recipients of this distinguished award. Many were men and women who spoke up to remedy the ills of the nation. They were committed to radical thought. They were my mentors, my inspiration, my moral compass. Through them, I understood America's greatness. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, Martin Luther King Jr., Eleanor Roosevelt, and others like Fannie Lou Hamer and Ella Baker, Bobby Kennedy, Condi Rice, and perhaps most important of all for me, Paul Robeson. He was the sparrow. He was an artist who made us understand the depth of that calling when he said, "Artists are the gatekeepers of truth. We are civilization's radical voice." Never in the history of Black America has there ever been such a harvest of truly gifted and powerful artists as we witness today. Yet, our nation.
In 1934, Paul Robeson became a supporter of the Soviet Union for reasons you'll see in the following video, in one of the following videos. This was fine, especially through World War II, where the United States, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union were all of one mind and working together to defeat Nazi Germany. However, once FDR died and Harry Truman became president, American policies changed, and the Soviet Union was no longer considered an ally. And the Cold War was in place. Paul Robeson did not change his views about the Soviet Union. and where he was once considered an important part of the government's planning regarding working with the Soviet Union, he was now considered a detriment. At the same time, he became head of a committee that was working to create laws against lynching. He approached Harry Truman regarding this and was told this wasn't the right time. This was particularly concerning to him because the number of black soldiers who had served in World War II and defended America were the ones being lynched. And this just made him very angry, so he spoke out more. He went on tour, he would speak in Europe, and he would express his views about the American policies. He would link them to fascism, all of which did not make him America's favorite son. As a result, his passport was taken away, or at least it wasn't renewed. He was no longer able to travel, and he was stuck in the United States. The videos that you're going to see now show a couple of things. One, how other countries felt about him and his inability to be able to travel. One, in fact, in 1952, there was a concert that he participated in a very strange way. It was held on the border of Washington State and British Columbia, and it was called the Peace Arch Concert, and there were about 40,000 people who lined the border, and microphones were set up, and everything was done, and he sang standing on the United States side, and people listened to him, and it was also radio, and he gave a concert to commemorate peace. Because he couldn't travel to the country, even though it was one step over the line. Another video shows the same thing happening in Wales. He also appeared before the House Committee on Un-American Activities, and you will hear that entire court appearance. Much of the questioning was, well, you'll see. He had become enemy number one. J. Edgar Hoover had done his darndest to find as much information as he could, much of which was incorrect, as it turns out, and it was used to shut Paul Robeson down. So that's what you'll be seeing next.
Hello, Paul Robeson. This is Will Painter, President of the South Wales Miners, speaking. on behalf of the South Wales miners and all the people gathered at this Eisteddfod, I extend to you warm greetings of friendship and respect. We are happy that it has been possible for us to arrange that you speak and sing to us today. We would be far happier if you were with us in person. Our people deplore the continued refusal of your government to return your passport and to deny you the right to join with us in our festival of song. We shall continue to exert what influence we can to overcome this position. We look forward to the day when we shall again shake you by the hand and hear you sing with us in these valleys of music and song.
Thank you so much for your very kind words. My warmest greetings to the people of my beloved Wales, and a special hello to the miners of South Wales at this great festival. It is a great privilege to be participating in this historic festival, and all the best to you as we strive toward a world where we all can live abundant, peaceful, and dignified lives. I'm going to begin with one of my own songs, Didn't My Lord Deliver Daniel, bringing freedom to our people? Another one of my people, this little light of mine, and all through the night in a Beethoven melody. Did my Lord deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel? Did my Lord deliver Daniel, and why not every man? He delivered Daniel from the lion's den, Jonah from the belly of the whale, and the Hebrew children from the fiery furnace, and why not every man? Did my Lord deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel?
As one of our Welsh songs puts it, and we dedicate it to you, we'll keep a welcome in the hillsides. We'll keep a welcome in the vales. This land of ours will still be singing when you come back again.
Mr. Robeson.
Do I have the privilege of asking who is addressing me?
I'm Richard Ahrens.
What is your position?
I'm director of the staff. Did you file a passport application in July 2, 1954?
I filed about 25 in the last few months.
In July of 1954, were you requested to submit a non-communist affidavit?
Under no conditions would I think of signing such an affidavit. It is a contradiction of the rights of American citizens.
Are you now a member of the Communist Party?
Oh, please, please, please.
Please answer, will you, Mr. Robeson?
What is the Communist Party? What do you mean by that?
Are you now a member of the Communist Party?
Would you like to come to the ballot box when I vote and take out the ballot and see?
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully suggest the witness be directed to answer the question.
You are directed to answer the question.
I invoke the Fifth Amendment and forget it.
I respectfully suggest the witness be directed to answer the question whether, if he gave us a truthful answer, he would be supplying information which might be used against him in a criminal proceeding.
You are directed to answer, Mr. Robeson.
In the first place, wherever I have been in the world, the first to die in the struggle against fascism were the communists. I laid many wreaths upon the graves of communists. That is not criminal. Chief Justice Warren has been very clear that the Fifth Amendment does not have anything to do with the influence of criminality, and I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Have you ever been known under the name of John Thomas?
Oh, please, does somebody here want me to put up a perjury someplace? John Thomas, my name is Paul Robeson, And anything I have to say, I have said in public all over the world, and that is why I'm here today.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that you direct the witness to answer the question. He's making a speech.
I ask you to affirm or deny the fact that your Communist Party name was John Thomas.
I invoke the Fifth Amendment. This is really ridiculous.
The witness talks very loud when he makes a speech, but when he invokes the Fifth Amendment, I can't hear him.
I have medals for diction. I can talk plenty loud.
Will you talk a little louder?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment loudly.
Sir, who are Mr. and Mrs. Vladimir
I
Nikiev?
invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know a Manning Johnson?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know Gregory Kifetz?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Do you know a Max Jurgen?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Max Jurgen.
Why don't
took
you
an
have
oath.
these people here to be cross-examined? Could I ask whether this is legal?
This is not only legal, but usual. By unanimous vote, this committee has been instructed to perform this very distasteful task.
To whom am I talking?
You're speaking to the chairman of the committee.
Mr. Walter?
Yes.
The Pennsylvania Walter?
That is right.
Representative of the steel workers?
That is right.
And the coal mining workers?
That is right.
Not United States Steel by any chance. A great patriot.
That is right.
You are the author of the bills that are going to keep all kinds of decent people out of the country.
No, only your kind.
Colored people like myself. And you would let in the Teutonic Anglo-Saxon stock.
We are trying to make it easier to get rid of your kind, too.
You don't want any colored people to come in. Could I be allowed to read from my statement?
Will you just tell this committee, please, while under oath, Mr. Robeson, the communists who participated in the preparation of that statement?
Oh, please. The reason I'm here today, from the mouth of the State Department itself, is I should not be allowed to travel because I have struggled for the independence of the colonial peoples of Africa. The other reason I'm here today, again, from the State Department and from the record of the Court of Appeals, is that when I am abroad, I speak out against injustices against the Negro people in this land. That is why I'm here. I'm not being tried for whether I'm a communist. I'm being tried for fighting for the rights of my people, who are still second-class citizens in this country, in this United States of America. My mother was born in your state, and my mother was a Quaker. And my ancestors, in the time of Washington, baked bread for George Washington's troops when they crossed the Delaware. My father was a slave. I stand here struggling for the rights of my people to be full citizens in this country. And they are not. They are not in Mississippi. They are not in Montgomery, Alabama. They are not in Washington. They are nowhere. And that is why I'm here today. You want to shut up every Negro who has the courage to stand up and fight for the rights of his people, for the rights of workers. And I have been on many a picket line for the steel workers, too. And that is why I'm here today.
Would you tell us whether or not you know Thomas W. Young?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment.
Thomas W. Young is a Negro president of the Guide Publishing Company. I'd like to read you his testimony, quote, Paul Robeson has no moral right to place in jeopardy the welfare of the American Negro to advance a foreign cause. In the eyes of the Negro people, this false prophet is unfaithful to their country, and they repudiate him, close quote. Do you know the man that said that?
I invoke the Fifth Amendment. Now, can I read my statement? It is a sad and bitter comment.
While you were in Paris in 1949, Mr. Robeson, did you tell an audience the American Negro would never go to war against the Soviet government?
May I say that is slightly out of context? May I explain to you what I did say? I remember the speech very well. 2,000 students who came from populations that would range to 600 or 700 million people asked me to say in their name that they did not want war. No part of my speech in Paris says 15 million American Negroes would do anything. I said it was my feeling that the American people would struggle for peace, and that has been since underscored by the President of these United States. Now, in passing, I said...
Do you know any people who want war?
Listen to me. I said it was unthinkable to me that any people could take up arms in the name of a man like Senator Eastland of Mississippi against anybody. Gentlemen, I still say that. This United States government should go to Mississippi and protect my people. That is what it should do.
I lay before you, sir, an article, quote, I am looking for full freedom, unquote, by Paul Robeson in The Worker. July 3rd, 1949, quote, I said It was unthinkable that the Negro people of America or elsewhere could be drawn into war with the Soviet Union. I repeat it with 100-fold emphasis, they will not, close quote.
And, gentlemen, they have not. It is clear that no Americans are going to go to war with the Soviet Union.
While you were in Stockholm, did you make a little speech?
I made all kinds of speeches.
Let me read you a quotation.
Let me listen.
Do so, please.
I am a lawyer.
It would be a revelation if you would listen to counsel.
In good company, I usually listen. But you know, people wander around in such fancy places.
You said, Mr. Robeson, and I quote, I belong to the American resistance movement, which fights against American imperialism, just as the resistance movement fought against Hitler.
Just like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman were underground railroaders and fighting for our freedom, you bet your life.
I have to insist that you listen to these questions.
I am listening.
I quote further, why should the Negroes ever fight against the only nation in the world where racial discrimination is prohibited and where the people can live freely? Never. They will never fight against either the Soviet Union or the people's democracies, close quote. Did you make that statement?
I do not remember, but what is perfectly clear today is that 900 million people, other colored people, have told you they will not. 400 million in India and millions everywhere have told you
The
that.
witness has answered the question. He doesn't need to make a speech.
Did you write an article that was published in the USSR Information Bulletin?
Yes.
Quote, I want to emphasize that only here in the Soviet Union did I feel that I was a real man with a capital M, close quote.
I would say, what is your name?
Arendt.
I am quite willing to answer the question. When I was a singer years ago, and this you will have to listen to.
I am listening.
I am a bass singer, and so for me, it was Chelyabin, the great Russian bass, not Caruso the tenor. I learned the Russian language to sing their songs. I wish you would listen now.
Mr. Chairman, I ask you to direct the witness to answer the question.
Just be fair with me.
I ask for order.
The great poet of Russia is of African blood.
Let us not go
It
so
is
far
important to
afield.
explain this.
Did you make that statement?
When I first went to Russia in 1934...
Did you make that
When I
statement?
first went to Russia in
Did you
1934...
make that statement?
In Russia, I felt for the first time like a full human being. No color prejudice like in Mississippi. No color prejudice like in Washington. It was the first time I felt like a human being, where I did not feel the pressure of color as I feel it in this committee today.
Why do you not stay in Russia?
Because my father was a slave, and my people died to build this country. And I'm going to stay here and have a part of it just like you, and no fascist-minded people will drive me from it. Is that clear?
You are here because you are promoting the communist cause.
I am here because I'm opposing the neo-fascist cause, which I see arising in these committees. Jefferson could be sitting here, and Frederick Douglass could be sitting here. Eugene Debs could be sitting here.
Now, what prejudice are you talking about? You were graduated from Rutgers. You were graduated from the University of Pennsylvania. I remember seeing you play football at Lehigh. There was no prejudice against you.
Just a moment. This is something I challenge very deeply, that the success of a few Negroes can make up for $700 a year for thousands of Negro families in the South. My father was a slave, and I have cousins who are sharecroppers. I do not see success in terms of myself. I have sacrificed hundreds of thousands of dollars for what I believe in.
While you were in Moscow, Mr. Robeson, did you make a speech lauding Stalin?
I can't remember.
Have you recently changed
What
your
has
mind
happened
about Stalin?
to Stalin, gentlemen, is a question for the Soviet Union, and I won't argue with a representative of the people who, in building America, wasted the lives of my people. You are responsible, you and your forebears, for 60 to 100 million black people dying in the slave ships and on the plantations. Don't you ask me about anybody.
I'm sure you wouldn't want to discuss with us the slave labor camps in the
Nothing
Soviet
could be
Union.
built more on slavery than this society, I assure you.
I would invite your attention to the Daily Worker of June 29, 1949, with reference to a get-together with you and Ben Davis, formerly communist councilman in New York. Do you know Ben
One
Davis?
of my dearest friends. He is as patriotic an American as can be, and you, gentlemen, are the non-patriots.
Just a minute.
You are the un-American.
The hearing is now adjourned.
I think it should be.
I've endured all of this that I
Can
can.
I read my statement?
No! The meeting is adjourned.
It should be.
We build community week after week through our sharing of joys and sorrows. In these times of virtual services, please email your joys and your sorrows to Reverend Sue and copy the office by noon on Friday. The first candle we light are for all the losses due to COVID-19, the deaths, the struggles, and the recoveries, all the people who have been affected. We light this candle for the first responders, the medical teams, and the many providing services so that we are sustained and safe. We light a candle in honor of the long-time UUFE member, Sue Lowery, who had a stroke and died on Tuesday, June 23rd in Durango, Colorado. There will be a virtual memorial service for Sue on July 11th at 4 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. The Zoom details will be available shortly. We hold Sue's family and friends in our care. We light a candle, both for joy and sorrow, for Charlie, who turned 1 on July 1st. His mom, Christy, notes, he's now walking, climbing, primitive running, babbling constantly, and getting into everything. We didn't have the 70-person pool party I dreamed of last winter, but the small family cookout on Wednesday is going to be a sweet nonetheless. Jane asks that we light a candle for her friend and the co-founder of Shore Shakespeare, Chris Rogers, who died suddenly on Saturday, June 27th, from a heart attack. He will be greatly missed. Ed shares, Marilyn and I celebrated our 61st wedding anniversary on June 27th. Congratulations to the both of you. And since it's the first Sunday of the month, I'd like to mention happy birthday to everyone celebrating a birthday in July. Happy birthday. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that for most people who are familiar with Paul Robeson, they think his most famous song is Old Man River. It's not. During his career, he probably performed Ballad for Americans more often and to greater acclaim than any other work. This piece was written in 1939, or it was first performed in 1939. It was written by Earl Robinson and John Latouche. It was aired on CBS Radio with the CBS Choir. It broke all records, maybe because it was 10 minutes long. And they had to make special arrangements. And when it was over, the studio audience went crazy. It was a 12-minute encore. It was recorded 6 months later, sold out, became a huge hit. There are some who believe that it should be listened to every year at the 4th of July because it exemplifies what America should be. And so we close this service with this work, Ballad for Americans.
In 76 the sky was red, thunder rumbling overhead. Bad King George couldn't sleep in his bed, and on that stormy morn, old Uncle Sam was born. Old Sam put on a three-cornered hat, and in a Richmond church he sat, and Patrick Henry told him that while America drew breath, it was liberty or death. What kind of hat is a three-cornered hat?
Did they all believe in liberty in those days?
Nobody who was anybody believed it. Everybody who was anybody, they doubted it. Nobody had faith. Nobody but Washington, Tom Paine, Benjamin Franklin, Chaim Solomon, Crispus Attucks, Lafayette. Nobody's
running a tea party at Boston.
Betsy Ross organized a sewing circle.
Yeah, Paul Revere had a horse race.
And a little ragged group believed it, and some gentlemen and ladies believed it, and some wise men and some fools, and I believed it too, and you know who I am.
Oh, who are you, mister?
Yeah, how come all this?
Well, I'll tell you. Now let me...
Now, let us tell you. Then Mr. Thomas Jefferson, a mighty fine man, he wrote it down in a mighty fine plan. The rest all signed it with a mighty fine hand, as they crossed their T's and dotted their I's. Oh, grand the country did arise.
And a mighty fine idea.
Adopted unanimously in Congress, July 4th, 1776.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights.
Among these rights are life.
Yes, sir.
Liberty.
That's right.
And the pursuit of happiness.
Is that what they say?
The very words.
That sure does sound mighty fine.
Building a nation is almost up. The people found the growing rough. The 13 states weren't large enough, so they started to expand into the Western world.
Still nobody who was anybody believed it. Everybody who was anybody, they stayed at home. But Lewis and Clark and the pioneers, driven by hunger, haunted by fears, the Klondike miners and the 49ers, some wanted freedom and some wanted riches, some liked to loaf while others dug ditches. And I believe it too, and you know who I am.
No, who are you, mister, anyway?
Well, I started to tell you.
Yes, mister. Tell us who you are.
You see, I represent the whole of... That's it.
Let my people
That's the idea. Old Abe Lincoln was thin and long. His heart was high and his faith was strong. But he hated oppression, he hated wrong. And he went down to his grave to free the slave.
Man in white can never be free, while his black brother is in slavery. And we here hiding love and we lay down not have time in vain. Government of the people, by the people and for the people,
Shall not perish from the earth.
Abraham Lincoln said that November 19, 1863 at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
And he was right. I believe that too.
Gee, mister, we still don't know who you are.
Well, I've been trying to tell you. You see, there it is.
teenage came with a great big roar, as America grew in peace and war. And a million wheels went round and round, the station reached into the sky and dug down deep into the ground. All the people carried through our country
Still nobody who's anybody believed it. Everybody who's anybody, they doubted it. And they are doubting still, and I guess they always will. But who cares what they say when I am on my way?
Will you please tell us who you are?
What's your name, buddy?
Where you going?
Who are you?
Well, I'm everybody who's nobody. I'm the nobody who's everybody.
What's your racket? What do you do for a living?
Well, I'm an engineer, musician, street cleaner, carpenter, teacher.
How about a farmer?
Also,
Office clerk?
yes, ma'am.
Mechanic?
That's right.
Housewife?
Certainly.
Factory worker?
You said it.
Stenographer?
Uh-huh.
Beauty specialist?
Absolutely.
Bartender?
Absolutely.
Truck driver?
Definitely.
I have seen this.
All of them I am the et cetera and the and so forths that do the work.
Now hold on here. What are you trying to give us?
Are you an American?
Am I an American? I'm just an Irish, Negro, Jewish, Italian, French and English, Spanish, Russian, Chinese, Polish, Scotch, Hungarian, Litvak, Swedish, Finnish, Canadian, Greek and Turk and Czech and double Czech American. And that ain't all. I was baptized, Baptist, Methodist, Congregationalist, Lutheran, Atheist, Roman Catholic, Orthodox, Jewish, Presbyterian, Seventh-day Adventist, Mormon, Quaker, Christian, Scientist, and lots more. Our country's strong, our country's young, and her greatest songs are still unsung. From her plains and mountains we have sprung to keep the faith with those who went before.
We nobody or anybody believe it. We anybody or everybody have the best.
Out of the cheating, out of the shouting, out of the murders and lynching, out of the windbags, the patriotic spouting, out of uncertainty and doubting, out of the carpetbag and the brass spittoon, it will come again. Our marching song will come again. Deep as our valleys, high as our mountains, strong as the people who made it. For I have always believed